Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rollers of Relay. Today we'll be interviewing the creator and owner of Third Eye Comics, Steve Anderson. Third Eye Comics is the comic shop of the Delmarva region, and if I say so, the best on the East Coast, hands down. If I had to scale the excitement meter for this episode on a meter at all, the meter would explode out of the galaxy. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Steve Anderson. Steve, thanks
Hey,
for joining.
hey, how are you, John? Thanks for having me, man. I'm super flattered.
Great, man. I'm doing great. I know it's been kind of rough trying to get this scheduled, but I appreciate you sticking
Yeah,
in there. And so, like I said, thanks for joining me. And I have to say, I've been wanting to do something like this for a while now. And the fact that you're on my list of people to interview is not a coincidence at all. Third Eye, Third Eye Comics is what brought me back into the fold, so to speak. I came to you guys when you were at the old location, and that's where I purchased Nailbiter Volume 1 and Witches Volume 1. And if Scott Snyder, if you're listening to this, I hope there's a Witches Volume 2 in the future somewhere. You guys have been feeding my horror and noir and pulp needs ever since then. You guys are the only comic shop I go to.
appreciate that.
So let's kind of start out by just telling us a little bit about yourself and maybe like the early years pre Third Eye and how you fell in love with comics.
Yeah. So I started reading comics. As a kid in the '80s. I'm 38, so as a kid in the '80s, comics were everywhere. And I think this holds true for a lot of people who get into the hobby. I didn't actually start following comics, or I didn't get comics until I was about 12 years old. I'd come across them, and I flipped through one here, flipped through one there, but it was very random. It wasn't very, like I wasn't like following a story. And then when I was about 12 years old, I fell into a comic shop looking for the Age of Apocalypse X-Men storyline. I'd read about it in a video game magazine, thought it was really cool. And in that comic shop, the guy who was working there was very nice. He hooked me up on the book, and started recommending other stuff. And that's how I got into comics, was basically by finding a good comic book store, and having somebody kind of take mind of what I was into, and then fostering that by recommending books and things like that. And that's where it started. And then I got real into it for a long time. Started working in my local shop when I was about 19 years old. And did that for a few years, worked a couple other jobs that I wasn't a huge fan of. And quit one of those, decided I was going to go back to working at the comic shop, and I was going to save up my money, and I was going to open my own store. And I I didn't know what I was doing. I thought that, saving the money, I could put up the collateral for a small business loan. I didn't know anything about bank loans or anything like that. You know what I mean? And I don't know how it is then, but or how it is now for someone starting out fresh. But back then, getting a loan to open a comic book store was like very far fetched. That wasn't something that they were cool with. I mean, this is before the Avengers movie, all that stuff. So I just saved some money, and there was a store that closed in Annapolis, and the guy knew me, and we worked out a deal where I could buy his fixtures, and I opened Third Eye Comics in 2008 in that location.
Very cool. Very cool. So I know that you are a huge music lover.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
anyone that knows you knows you're a huge music lover. And whenever I walk into any of your stores, there's always a killer playlist going on over the speakers. How has music had an influence in your life, and also influenced your personal taste in maybe the comics that you read or that you collect?
I mean, it's a huge thing for me. I've been I grew up, you know, skateboarding, monster movies, horror movies, comic books, and I remember getting cassettes. There was actually like a weird pack-in cassette thing with Spider-Man when I was a kid, and it had a bunch of like metal and punk and hip hop bands on there, and I've been into it since I was a kid. And it influences everything, but I'd say that probably the strongest direct influence on me and what I do with Third Eye is I grew up in the DIY punk and hardcore scene, and that that really shaped the way that I looked at the business when I opened the business. why can't we have stickers? Why can't we have t-shirts? Why can't we put our names on signs and put them all over the state? Why not? Why not? And that's kind of like the spirit of that kind of music, is that it's a very DIY, you know, no label needed kind of thing, where it's just like, cool, we're gonna make a record, and then we're gonna tour across the country, and if people like it, then we're gonna do more. And that's still the biggest influence for me to this day. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff that we do at Third Eye, that doesn't seem super crazy to me, because I just have that DIY mindset.
Yeah,
And
for
if I
sure.
can't figure out how to do it myself, I'm lucky enough to have some friends that I can talk to that can point me in the right direction.
Yeah, there definitely is this like punk rock kind of like rebellion feel to it, and that's kind of when you talk to people about comics, the rebellion, so to speak, is kind of inherent in that, and especially in modern day comics, because
Yeah,
it used to be just superheroes and capes saving the day, and now it's I read James Tynion's Department of Truth, and it's
right,
like you would never see something like that 20, 30 years ago.
right.
And just the whole punk rock feel and even the do it yourself mentality that you guys have is definitely there. And we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that with the different events and things that you guys host.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So we talked a little about the history of Third Eye Comics. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your first location?
Yeah. So my first location was on an old Solomon's Island Road. It was 800 square feet. Um, and it used to be, the building that we were in used to be apartments. And when we moved in there was us, and then there was a taxi cab, dispatch office on either side. So we had a lot of issues with parking because there's a lot of cabs there. The guys were all really cool, but it's a lot of cabs. And and then there was I think there was a masseuse in there, and then like a hair place, and that's where we started. And we were there for about 2 years, and we did well. Like, we were able to grow, and then we moved down the street to our next location, which was another one on Old Solomon's Island Road here in Annapolis. That was like 13 or 1400 square feet. Then we were there for a couple years, and then we moved to the West Street location, which is where a lot of people really got to know us. And that was close to a 5,000 square foot location. And now, well, back in 2017, we expanded into what is probably going to be, I'd say, our permanent home. Is a combined total of 14,000 square feet. And that's the comic book store and the game store, right on Chickapin Round Road.
Yeah, and I came to you guys at the store before the newest store,
Right.
and I just remember walking in there and going, "Wow, there's a lot of stuff in this little tiny place."
Yeah.
And but it was so great because the most important thing I think with any business, especially um, I would call you guys like a family-owned business. You're not like completely franchised out all over the place. Um, is customer service. If I walk into a place, and I've been to a couple comic shops where you walk in, you don't get greeted. The guy's like, if you don't see it there, we don't have it. Blah blah blah. And you
Right.
get that in some comic shops. That is the complete opposite of Third Eye Comics. You
Yep.
guys, as soon as you hear the door ring, there's about 15 people saying, "Hey, welcome to Third Eye Comics," and
Right.
that's totally cool because as someone who didn't know what I was getting myself into when I first walked into Third Eye Comics, it was like a breath of fresh air.
Right. 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 Right.
And it's great because I can go up to someone like Torma and I can say, "Hey, I'm looking for something horror that has to do with werewolves, that has to do with some kind of rich lore." And he can go, "Okay, cool. We have about 3 or 4 different things." And he takes you
Right.
to them and he tells you all about them. And you get a quick little synopsis of what you're looking for, and you can make your choice from there. And it makes me as a consumer feel more welcome to know that I'm walking into a place where they will learn to know who I am and can say, "Oh, hey, John, we just got this in. I think you might like it," based off
Right.
of them knowing what I like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a good comic shop right there. like getting to know your customers, and it's hard too because I mean we're a busy store, so it's one of those things where we definitely have to make that time, to kind of to build the rapport. And sometimes people are, a little bit less open to it. You know what I mean? And that's fine. We really pride ourselves on tailoring our approach to whatever the customer wants. So, sometimes you have folks who are a little bit more standoffish and a little more introverted, and they don't want that kind of experience of like, wow, this dude knows exactly what I want. You know what I mean? And that's cool. We appreciate those guys and girls a lot too. But what we try to really do is we try to train our people to be mindful that it's not a one size fits all approach. Like it's the store should be a store that everybody can come in and feel welcome in.
Absolutely. And I mean, everyone from 8 to 80 has been into your store, and I've never heard a bad word spoken about it ever.
Thank you.
Like, and it's one of those things too where when you see someone with the Third Eye logo sticker on their car,
Yeah.
you kind of feel like a little bit of a bond because
Yeah.
you know where this like special little treasure is, and it's
Yeah.
hidden in plain sight, and all you have to do is just walk into the door and find it yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So let's kind of talk about the games and hobby store.
Yeah.
What made you jump into that? Because I know, before you opened the game store, you had a few different comic stores located in Maryland, and I believe you had the Richmond store then. What made you jump into the games?
So we opened the game store in 2015. And it basically it happens like most things happen at Third Eye, where basically we have something that's a product line that we carry that we like, and we think is cool. And we start it small, and then we add a little bit, and we add a little bit. Then before you know it, with the games, we were selling a lot of games every week, and we were running out of space to put them. So there was a empty unit in the same shopping center as the comic store before we moved, and we decided, hey, let's lease this and let's make a game store. We got some really good people on the team who, like know games, like Tom Ryan and Matt Coppage. And we opened that store and did really well. People responded really well to it. And just like anything else, whenever we do anything at Third Eye, um, and it's not even so much a conscious decision, it's just how we are. We don't really look at like a template from other stores. We just kind of look and say what makes sense to us. Like what would be a cool store for us to go into? And anytime that we have deviated from that and we've done something where we've been like, oh, we should do it because this is what game stores do, it really didn't work for us. And we opened the game store, did great, very good. And then it's just kind of grown and evolved as time. And right now, I feel like the game store is the best representation of what Third Eye Games and Hobbies is. And it's a great selection of tabletop games, trading card games, puzzle games, but we've also moved a lot of hobby elements in there like records and model kits and skateboards and things like that. And all of those are baby categories that we're slowly growing. And who knows, maybe a couple years from now, you might see a Third Eye Records or something to that effect. If those, whatever the customers want, whatever our people want, that's what we build towards. So when a category like games is getting that kind of attention, then we're like, well, let's give them a better, bigger, better store to browse in. That could happen with the records. That could happen with anything. We're actually getting ready to add a year-round horror section to the game store with like props and masks and all
Oh,
kinds of
cool.
things like that. And that's coming from the fact that Maryland has a very strong horror community. That every time we'd get anything horror related into the stores, it would get snapped up. And we were like, oh, it's pretty cool. Get a little bit more, get a little bit more. And you know, pretty soon we were like, all right, we need to make plans to like give this fan base something big and awesome that they can go to year round. And that's how games started for us too.
Yeah, and you guys are my go-to for horror because I know
Thank you.
that the similar taste in horror that I like, you and also a lot of your crew like as well.
Right.
Um, Anything that has to do with, say, aliens or rich mythos or
Yeah.
anything that comes out Lovecraftian, I ask you guys, and you say, "Yeah, we just got this in." When Alan Moore released Providence and Neonomicon and stuff like that, I came to you guys to buy it.
Right.
Um, it's just there, and the horror games and things like that. I knew exactly where to go because you guys know what I like as a consumer, and that's not saying that you're tailoring it directly to me, obviously, but you have a great business mindset of where this is what our customer wants. This is what
Right.
we provide. We will provide them.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So the newest location that you opened in September was the Waldorf location.
Yes.
Um, what was your reasoning behind moving or opening up a store
Yeah.
there?
So I've got a big map of the state of Maryland and a big map of the state of Virginia and a big map of the state of DC on the wall in my office. And I've had it for probably about 5 or 6 years. It's weird because like Third Eye has like a office now where like we have some administrative that works and our mail order runs out of there and all that. So it's not in that office; it's in my home office because that's where it started. And on that map, I've got locations marked where I was like, that would be a great area for a store. That would be a great area for a store. And Waldorf was one of those locations. Waldorf's been on my list probably about 5 or 6 years. But I have a personal rule that I don't go into a market and open a store if there's already a store there that's serving that market. Now every store is different. Some stores do stuff that I don't do. You know, whatever works. That's the great thing about comic book stores is that you can find a store for just about anybody. Um, but I just don't think it's good form to do that. I've had people do that to me where, they've opened up, 10, 15 minutes away and it's just, it doesn't make sense for either store to go into a market and then fragment that market. And you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work out. So I usually avoid areas where a store is doing a decent job of serving its market. Um, the store that was there, I had heard through the grapevine that the owner was going to be closing. The owner closed, reached out. I said, "Hey, I'd love to buy your fixtures and, reach out to your customers and put a Third Eye there." And that's what we did. And it's been really successful so far. The response from the community in Waldorf has been amazing. People are really, really excited about the store. The store itself turned out really great. I'm really proud of it. Uh, Another big part of it is that we had a great employee, Tyler, who had been with us for about a year and a half, and he was pretty much primed to take the next step to being one of our managerial figures. And we kind of wanted to move him into that position, and that worked out. And yeah, and that's it. And now we're full steam ahead towards the next one that we're opening, which is in Short Pump, Virginia, and that's a part of Richmond, Virginia. So that'll be our second store in that region.
Amazing, man. You guys are. I told you before. You guys, there's no stopping you guys, and I,
We're
I,
trying, man.
and I love that. I love that go getter mindset. And during the height of the pandemic, I sent you guys an email and a message saying how much I appreciate the fact that you are continuing to stay open
Thank you.
because it is very, very important. When people get stuck alone and inside their heads and have no way to escape, that's what comics is.
Yep.
It's the way to escape. It's the you know when I was growing up, it was these kids are picking on me or whatever, and I can't do anything about it. But if I was Superman, this is what I
Right.
could do. If I
Right.
was Batman, this is what I could do. And the fact that you guys continue to put yourself out there, market yourself as saying, "Hey, no matter what, we will continue to serve you."
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
mean,
I
we just didn't
really,
see it
really,
the
really
other
love
way.
that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd never thought I'd deal with anything like that before the whole COVID shutdowns thing. And I really hope I never have to deal with anything like that again. I know we're still in the midst of virus and things like that. And the precautions on it, but I feel like we've all kind of gotten to a point where we know that the answer isn't completely just locking everything down and ending, you know what I mean? Like everybody's life. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what a lockdown does, is it pretty much there's a lot of people who cannot work safely from home. And there's a lot of people who, can't move their businesses into the virtual realm. And while we were able to do some of it, it's hard. And we had to lose a lot of staff real fast. And those are the kind of things that, I'd never faced before, where it was like, what do you keep 4 people? Who do you keep?
Hmm.
Um, And what do you do? What do you do? But I can proudly say that, we kept our senior staff. Um, we made sure that everybody did not miss a paycheck. And then we brought back a lot of our people that we had to let go too. And we got through it and we survived. It was very hard. The the thing that was kind of tricky, and a lot of people during the shutdowns were very much like, well, just go curbside. Everybody can go curbside. That's easy. It's normal. But it's kind of it's a little bit of an insulting thing to kind of say that to a business without knowing the logistics of the business and what they have to do. I mean, we're not a food business. We've never done curbside. We've never done delivery. Now we did it during the shutdowns, but it's a learning curve. I mean, when you've only got like when you're dealing with thousands of SKUs, which is what we deal with at Third Eye, you're dealing with thousands of different products, and the price of those products is typically low. You know what I mean? It's very hard to make something like curbside work because the phone, like you'll have like a 20 or 30-minute phone call for a transaction that might be say 18 or $19, because there's so many questions about the stuff we sell.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many questions about, and we love it. It's great, but it's very hard to translate what we do in the store where people can browse and shop and pick things up and look at things and check issue numbers and all of that kind of stuff, and translate that to curbside, which works really well if you're ordering, a pizza, but that's not so much for what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one of the greatest things about any comic shop is being able to go in there and touch and feel. I'm very much a physical copy person.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
the work that I do, a lot of it is like internet catalog and whatnot. But if I can have a physical copy in my hand, I much rather have that. And
Absolutely.
same thing with comics. I try not to read comics online unless it's an online only comic.
Yeah,
But just the fact of being there, feeling it, looking at it. Is it a first issue? Is it a second issue? Is it a first pressing kind of thing? That's one of the things that I love to do, and just be able to see. Because yes, I might want the newest issue of Batman that I've been collecting for how many ever years. I know what I'm going to get. I'm getting Batman. But what if I want something new?
right.
It's going to be tough, and you don't want anyone to get like a buyer's remorse
I mean, at
kind of
the end of
thing.
the day, we are physical flesh and blood life form.
Hmm.
That is what we are. No matter how good the apps get, no matter how good the internet gets, there is nothing that's going to ever replace, the smell of paper. There's nothing that's going to replace, like the smell of walking into a restaurant and like smelling like a fresh, whatever, coffee. I mean, like there's nothing that's going to replace that, because that's our biology. You know what I mean? Like we're physical beings. Um, and physical media will never go away, because as physical beings, just like things like taste and smell are a big part of it. It's the same thing when you're immersing yourself in something. I still have a DVD subscription to Netflix. Like I don't even do the streaming, because there's something about being forced to watch what you got in the mail and being like, okay, cool, maybe it's good, maybe it's not, but I'm not going to have a good mental frame of reference for what's good and what's not if everything is curated for me and streamed to me and brought right to me, and
Yeah.
then I'm not gonna be able to develop, that kind of feeling. So yeah, physical media, I'm all about it. And I'm not just saying that because it's part of my business. I mean, I walk the walk, like when I'm out, I go to record stores. I go to the movies, like I like it all. Right now is kind of rough for me because, a lot of my favorite things are not able to do their thing right now. And I understand why, but I'm excited for when we can get back to being able to just go see a movie.
Absolutely. And part of the experience of Third Eye Comics is the atmosphere, like we talked about
Absolutely.
earlier.
Yeah.
Speaking of the atmosphere, I'm not sure what this year has entailed for us, but you have kind of tailored some of these events to work for you guys now that we are at limited capacity and things like
Right.
that. Let's talk about some of the events throughout the year. It's my understanding Third Eye's birthday is local comic shop day, correct?
Actually it's Free Comic Day.
Free comic day, okay.
Free Comic Day, yeah. So that's the first Saturday in May. So we've got a little bit of time for that one.
Okay. And let's talk local comic shop day. Kind of
Yeah.
explain what that is.
Local Comic Shop Day is a really cool thing. It kind of reminds you a lot of Record Store Day, where basically there are limited release items that are going to be coming out. It's November 18th this year, and we'll be having it at our store. It's on a Wednesday, and it really is just kind of a celebration of comic books and physical media. You know what I mean? So there's special limited release versions of like really cool exclusive items that, people want to own, people want the artifact. And it's just a way to kind of remind people like how important the local comic shop is to, everything when it comes to entertainment right now. I mean, movies and TV and all of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And last night was
Yeah.
um, your Halloween deal. And did you guys? The last time I went, we were all lined up outside, and we did some, before the store opened, and you guys did some giveaways and stuff like that.
Right.
Did you guys still kind of live to that, or?
So with events, we've actually taken a very careful approach. We don't know what the world is going to be like 2, 3 weeks from now, but to properly host an event, you gotta announce it and promote it at least 3 or 4 weeks in advance.
Hmm.
Uh, so it puts us in a really tough spot. We did not encourage camping out. We did not encourage like the long lines. Now we love that stuff. It kills us not being able to. I mean, that's what I'm good at is like really putting my foot on the gas and just making that place crazy. We didn't do that because we really weren't sure how things were going to be looking. And we wanted to try to be responsible. So what we did was we promoted the event, but we promoted it in a more measured way. But to be completely honest with you, we had a great turnout. It was one of our most successful Halloween comic fests. It was just different. There wasn't really any camping out or anything like that, but there was steady people coming in throughout the day. They were getting their candy, they're getting their free comic, they were buying lots of cool stuff and having a great time, wearing their costumes, and everybody was keeping their distance. Everybody was wearing, a mask. So I mean, like all of that was very good. So it really did work out in a way where, we were really happy with it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that you guys still had the event and could do it, like you said, in a measured way.
Yep.
One of my favorite events, other than the signings, which we'll definitely talk about in a little bit, is Black Friday.
Yeah.
Now, Black Friday, you get everyone from everywhere.
Yes.
And with your new location and it being so large, more people can fit inside of it. So the last time I was there, it was from the front of the store all the way around to the back, and it started looping around the parking lot a little bit,
Yeah,
which
to
is a
see.
it's a testament to how far of a reach you guys have gotten now. And how do you? I don't want you to give anything away early, but how do you guys maybe plan on doing that this year?
I can't really give away much.
Okay.
We do have a plan, and we're going to be announcing our Black Friday plans within the next week. And we do have a plan to make sure that it's safe and it's measured, but also it kind of delivers on the things that people really enjoy about coming to Black Friday. Um, will we have the line that snakes around the store and goes outside? Probably not, but we do have plans to make sure that we can accommodate a ton of people coming through. We're just going to make sure that we're not. The goal, I think, with these events is to make sure that we're not, exceeding capacity, but at the same time that we're not keeping people static for too long, because I think that's kind of the worry with COVID is when you have a bunch of people in one place and they're static with each other, it just seems like that's where it really gets a little hairy. So as long as we're able to keep things moving and keep people, kind of going, it's a much safer environment. So we are working really hard. That's one of actually the hardest things I had to figure out this year was how to do Black Friday. And do it right. I think one thing I can say is that like most other retailers this year, we are going to be foregoing a midnight Black Friday opening, just because that's where we've always found the like rush
Hmm.
of a crowd is usually is at that doors open at midnight thing, and we don't think it's the smartest thing to do this year. So, but we do have a lot of cool stuff planned for Black Friday, and we're hoping it's going to be a great, crazy, awesome day.
I'm sure it will be no matter what. Believe me, there's no stopping these third eye faithfuls. And let's talk about that real quick because that leads us into our next question here. Can you tell us? It kind of explains itself, I guess, but I'd like to hear from you. Um, what is a third eye fable?
It's basically somebody who just is, I mean, at its core, it's somebody who shops third eye no matter what. You know what I mean? Like we really do love, loyal customers. And when we say faithful, it's somebody who is devoted to the store, you know what I mean? And somebody that gets it. If you appreciate what we do, if you appreciate the customer service, you appreciate the layout of the store, you appreciate, the stock and all of that, that means that you get it. And if you get it, that means that you don't see the reason to go to another comic book store or another game store, like you go to Third Eye and you buy Third Eye or die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was fortunate enough, not to toot my own horn, but I was fortunate enough to be um, at the event. I forget which event it was, where you announced the brand new store.
Yeah.
And if you were the first, I think it was, say, 50 or 100 or so in line, you got a invite basically to the
Yeah.
store and basically the Third Eye Faithful Facebook page.
Right, right.
And that was really awesome because it was like, it shows that you care as much as, we care.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We literally that Trish and I, we just think about this store. I mean, staff too, Torma too, Nicole, Matt, all of them.
Hmm.
Everybody thinks about this store night and day. And we live it. You know what I mean? Like it's I think that's why a lot of our staff um, loves what they do so much is because it's not just a retail job that you come in and you punch in at. It's something where they feel like they're actually doing something.
Yeah, for sure. There is a culture when it comes to Third Eye Comics, for sure. There's a culture, and you guys might have a written one, but I can see from a business standpoint the mission statement when I walk into,
Right.
yeah, when I walk into Third Eye.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about, we hinted towards signings. So signings are another huge event that you guys have, and midnight releases.
Yeah.
They're like a gathering of Third Eye Faithfuls, just like the event. How do you prepare for such a large crowd like that?
So post COVID or pre COVID?
Let's go pre.
Okay, so pre-COVID, I mean, honestly, it really depends on the signing. I've got a really good kind of feel for how big a sign is going to be, and I host all kind. I host little ones, I host big ones. I think the small ones are just as important as the big ones.
Absolutely.
Something like the Gerard Way signing, I planned almost 12 weeks for that. That was a lot of pre-planning, a lot of crowd control planning. And then the real pre-planning comes in the 3 or 4 days prior to the signing, where I'm not sleeping at all and I'm worried about everything and I'm just checking everything a million times.
Yeah.
That is how we do it. The smaller ones, I mean, sometimes it's like having an old friend, you know what I mean? Where it's not like that hard, we just do it and rock and roll it. But I mean, I think every signing gets equal promotion, and that's the most important part is making sure that we promote each thing like it is what it is, which is a great, big, awesome thing, whether it's a brand new talent no one knows yet or someone that's, a superstar.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with that for sure because it's the little comic book creators that might spark into something big. And when I first started coming to signings, so the first signing I came to was Joshua Williamson because I love the Nail Biter. Like I said, it's the comic that got me back into comics.
Right.
Um, Now that was in that specific era, that was a smaller signing. But
Right.
I think that you guys have something what I call the third eye touch. Whereas these creators come in and then they for their own independent comic, and then all of a sudden, like Joshua Williamson, he's writing the Flash. He's
Right.
doing this huge book. Um how do you feel? How do you feel about that? Because I know it's like, Scott Snyder came and then he's writing Batman. Tom King comes in, he's writing Batman, and Mr. Miracle. Same thing with Joshua Williamson.
I mean, I think that we're just good at like spotting people that have talent. I mean, that's the thing. You can tell, you can tell when a creator is good. And we never consciously are like, they're gonna be big. We just feel like, they're good, and we like it. And we bring it in and we want everyone else to like it. And I in no way take any responsibility for
Yeah.
anybody blowing up or anything like that. But I mean, I just think that like we've just got a good eye for what makes a good book.
I completely agree. One of the we'll talk about that in a second. But there's been a few legends, and they're legends in my eyes, and I'm sure they're legends in the same community that we all thrive in. Um, Someone like Peter Mayhew. How awesome was that to have Peter
It
Mayhew?
was cool. It was
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah, it was really cool.
Same thing with Garth Ennis. That was the biggest one that I
Love
ever
Garth.
attended. You
Yeah,
guys introduced me to Preacher way before the show was on TV.
yeah,
Again, because you guys knew the kind of stories that I like to read, and
right,
then that's the first time I camped out, and that was at the smaller store, and
right.
it had snowed in the middle of the night. I totally was not prepared, um, but it was so amazing to be able to meet him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's cool, man. It's really cool. Like yeah, I know Garth was a big one for us too. He's probably my favorite, and I was really pumped to have him in.
Yeah, and he's been there a few times now. I believe 2 times, right?
Yep, yep, yep. And we were supposed to have him back a third, and then COVID kind of made everything a little weird, so
Yeah,
we couldn't do that one. But we will have him back, I'm sure, when things get a little bit more normal. Signings are probably the toughest thing to tackle right now because,
yeah.
like I was saying earlier, it's a lot of people in one spot.
Hmm.
It's a lot different than a sale where it's people coming and going, and they can go over here like you have a line of people that are concentrated.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be there the next time Garth Ennis is there for sure.
Cool.
I keep telling you guys that if you can wrangle up Alan Moore, I'll be number one in line. I'll be there for a week.
Love that.
Yeah, for real. So you guys are a really big presence at Baltimore Comic Con, and obviously that didn't happen this year. Did you guys attend any of the like the online um,
I
booth kind
really
of things?
I really appreciated that they did it, but no, I'm so swamped. Like I've got so many things going on that like I didn't have the time to figure out a way to do it for us that would have done us justice. You know what I mean? Like whenever we do anything, I like to make sure that we do it with our best. And that bringing what we do online is I have to figure out stuff for it, and I just didn't have the time to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's all good. You guys are a huge presence there, and I can't wait for it to be, for us to be able to actually attend.
Oh, I know, me too.
Yeah. um, the last thing we'll talk about with signings and appearances. How sick was Guar?
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah,
Dude, that was so
that was
cool.
cool. That was cool. I mean, there's so many things like that we do that like it's a personal thing for me where I'm just like, I can't believe we're doing this, like I can't believe that this is a thing, and it's I love it, you know what I mean? Like that's what life should be, is like just unforgettable experiences.
Yeah, yeah. When John, my best friend, when he said
Right.
Guar's gonna be at Third Eye Comics, I said, dude, we're gonna go for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if they're in makeup. Oh hell yeah, we're gonna be there.
No, it's crazy, man. I remember buying a copy of Scum Dogs on cassette, like Am Goody or something back when I was a kid. I think I was like 13 or 12. And just, it's crazy, man. Stuff like that trips me out. Like I love it. It really makes me happy.
Yeah, and to be able to do to be able to like I guess make dreams like that come true because everybody wants to meet a band that they like, right? And
Yeah, right,
with
right,
Guar, it's like their stage presence and their stage show rivals, anything,
right.
anything. It's amazing. I've seen Guar once, and it's one time's enough to know that you're gonna leave messy.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about the online store for a little bit.
Okay.
So, www.thirdeyecomics.com. Um, Tell us about it. Is it? Well, I know it's a website, but is it one of those things where it's a sidekick to your main store? Is it
So so if you go to the website and click through to shop.thirdeyecomics.com, That's the main store. So that it's a really robust business. It grew a lot after COVID, obviously, but we add new product every week. Um, and um, and we have a mail order team of three almost full time staffers that keep that thing running. It's busy. I mean, it's busy. I've got a team, warehouse, all that stuff. I mean, like we ship out hundreds of packages every week.
Yeah, I'd imagine right now more than ever your online store is probably booming.
It's very busy. Yeah, it's very busy.
And it's a way that we can manage our pool boxes as well, correct?
Yeah, if you go to thirdeyecomics.com, you can go to Third Eye Pull Box, and Third Eye Pull Box lets you manage your pull box for either mail order or in store, and set up whatever you need.
Very cool. And pre-orders as well. We can buy
Yep.
pre-orders.
Oh, absolutely.
Really cool. We talked a little bit about vinyl. Vinyl has had a resurgence, it seems, and you guys have a pretty good selection.
Thank you.
Um, and it's when I say pretty good, it's like you can buy vinyl at Best Buy, and it's probably like Taylor Swift's latest album or something like that. When I go there, I can see the obscure things that I'm not used to seeing
Right.
on a mainstream store's shelf.
Right.
Like I can go in there and I can find Mayhem, I can find
Right.
Death, I can find Godspeed You Black Emperor. I walked
Right.
in there the other day and I saw a few Between the Buried and Me albums, and my mouth was
Yep.
like, "All right, let's do this."
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm on a Between the Buried and Me fan page on Facebook, and Between the Buried and Me had just released their first album remixed and remastered and all that stuff, and
Mm.
no one could find it anywhere. And I walked into your store, and there it is, sitting right as soon as I walk in. Boom. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, they only made like 500 to 1,000 of these things. So I took a picture of it and I sent it to the fan site.
I think somebody ordered it from us.
Exactly. Somebody
Yeah.
was like, you can find it here, and I sent the phone number, and like 20 minutes later, the guy was like, they're shipping it out to me right now.
That's cool. That's
But your selection is cool, and I have always been an advocate for a third eye record store. I think that would be
Hey,
awesome.
man, we love music and we have a lot of fun. And I mean, like anything else, we curate it and we grow it. You know what I mean? So you have to have your staples and you have to have your popular stuff, but you also have to have a breadth of different genres. And luckily, I've got a pretty good head for a lot of different kinds of music. So when we're doing our restocks, I'm always like, oh, we don't have anything by Gorguts or whatever,
Yeah.
so you're a death metal band, and I'm like, let's add all the Gorguts albums on this order. You know what I mean? And I do that every week. I'm like, oh, we don't have any Madlib albums. Add all the Madlib albums. You know what I mean? So it's fun. Like that's the thing. Like everything that we do, like it all comes. The reason it's successful is because it comes from a good place, which is we do it because it's fun. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, we figure out a way to make it work in a business sense, but at its core, you're going to put a lot more time and effort into something if you enjoy it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I got one last question for you, and it's one that I've always wondered. And you talk about it every time you get a new store.
Yeah.
I need to know the history behind the signature black and white checkerboard floor pattern. It's
Oh,
been in
cool.
every single store I've been in that you own.
Yeah, man. I just think it looks good. I mean, like, it reminds me of going into stores as a kid. A lot of the things I do in the stores, a lot of the things I do in a lot of the things we do, marketing too, um, it all kind of taps back to kind of like memories. And the memories I've got, they might be altered because you always remember things more fondly. But like, the black and white floor, that was like a thing that you'd see a lot of when you'd go to the mall. You know what I mean? Like when you go, I grew up right around the corner from Landover Mall in Prince George's County, and I remember I think it was called the Hot Shop. It was like a little restaurant. But I remember going there, and they had a floor that was kind of like that, and there was other places like that. And it's just kind of it goes back to like do it because it's cool. You do it because it speaks to you, and some people get it, some people don't. You know what I mean? But it's really cool when somebody kind of sees something and they're like, oh, okay, the new Richmond shirt looks like Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
everyone's going to get that, but the people who do, it's kind of cool. And at the end of the day, it's cool. It's fun.
Absolutely. There is a lot of nostalgia that comes with Third Eye Comics as a brand. There's a
Yeah.
lot of nostalgia for sure. So, is there anything else that you want to add? The floor is open for you to promote
Um,
anything or any kind of special announcements you have.
no, just that the newest store opens November 21st in Short Pump, Virginia, our second Richmond, Virginia store, and we're really excited about it. We have a great team lined up for it. And we can't wait to meet a bunch of new people there. Other than that, we appreciate the heck out of everybody supporting all of our stores, people who support us online. We appreciate everybody, and we hope to be around for a very long time. Um, you know, Giving you guys awesome places to get fun stuff.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, thanks again for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I know you are a very, very busy man.
Oh, good.
It truly is an honor. I mean this in the most sincere way. Thank you to you and your team at Third Eye Comics for staying open during the trying times.
Thanks, man.
You have a tagline that says "Make fun essential," and you
Yeah,
guys really are doing that. You and your team put action to the phrase. Not all wears capes. Some of them wear third eye face coverings and introduce you to fun that you never knew you could have from a socially acceptable distance.
we try, man.
If it wasn't for your team showing me the Call of Cthulhu 7th edition box set, I would have never known that I actually love to create my own stories.
Yeah,
And I've just from me buying that $30, $40 box set, I've met people from all over the country, and we even played a couple games with a guy named Simon that lives in Wales.
that's awesome.
So it just goes to show that Third Eye can vicariously branch out to all these other people and make fun essential.
Try, man.
Well, cool, man. Thank you so much. And you can visit Third Eye Comics at their various locations in Annapolis, Maryland, Lexington Park, Maryland, Richmond, Virginia, the newly added Waldorf, Maryland location, and the soon to be added Short Pump, Virginia location. You can find out more about Third Eye Comics from their Facebook page, facebook.com/Third Eye Comics, and be one of their over 100,000 people that follow them. Or visit their beautifully designed website, www.thirdeyecomics.com, to learn everything about the Poolbox program and search for everything everything new from your favorite comic book and maybe for your new game night. Thank you, Steve, so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.